Aloha and welcome to the Secret Art of Huna podcast, where I'll be sharing how to use Huna, the carefully guarded spiritual, energetic and healing practices of the ancient Hawaiians, to help you transform those bits of your life that aren't working, to help you find your purpose, or maybe just to help you dump emotional baggage. I'm Dr. Jane Lewis, and 20 years ago I was burnt out, depressed, unfulfilled, disappointed, directionless and deeply, deeply miserable. Huna enabled me to change all that, and so I now share it with whoever wants to experience a more joyful, fulfilling life. Aloha, good afternoon, and welcome to this Secret Art of Huna Live. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Jane Lewis, and I'm the founder of Secret Art of Huna. And for those of you who do know me already, it's just a big warm welcome from me. So today I wanted to talk about why it's important that we heal our old wounds, why it's important that we acknowledge our old wounds, and why it's important that we heal our old wounds. And if you're joining the call, please do say hello, put a comment in the box. I can't actually see you as such, but once you put in, I can see there's somebody there, but I can't see who you are. But once you put a comment in the box, I can see who you are. And it'd be lovely just to acknowledge you and say hello. So, old wounds. Why is it important? I passionately believe that this pandemic, this crisis that we're all going through, is a brilliant opportunity for us to change the way we look at things, to change the way we do things, to change the way we behave, and to change the way our attitude towards the planet itself. I believe there's a fantastic opportunity to be had. But I also believe that the fact that we tend to be locked in, certainly in the UK, I think it's a bit different in some countries, but you know, we're being locked in, we're being limited, we're being restricted in what we can do. It shines a giant torch on those areas of our lives where we still have unresolved issues, and there are still some things that we need to be thinking about. Hi, Joanna. Hello, aloha. So this is about how can you recognize and heal those unresolved hurts? Why would you want to do it? So for many of us, things happen to us when we're small, and you wouldn't label them as trauma. They're not physical violence. They're not threats to your physical being, but they have a traumatic impact. They feel traumatic at the time, and they have a really long impact. I'm talking about things like parents permanently bickering at one another. I'm talking about bullying, non-physical bullying, but that emotional bullying that a lot of kids experience. I'm talking about the granny or the auntie or the uncle or whoever. Hiya, Dad. Lovely to see you. Who they kind of put you down when you were a kid, and it was a little bit, every time they saw you, they'd say hello, and then they'd say something that made you feel small, the teacher that made you feel small. So all these things are not trauma with a capital T, but they have that impact upon us. It's that relentlessness, and they cause us to believe certain things about ourselves. Hi Sheila, good afternoon. So I'm talking about those sorts of things, and they have such long fingers. They have so much impact. They can hold us back in the long term. Now, I've done a lot of work on myself, but there are still moments. Hi, Simone. Hi, yay. There are still moments where I get in touch with things that I still haven't completely resolved. So, case in point, mostly I'm a confident woman. I'm happy in my own skin. I'm in my 60s and I'm cool with being in my 60s. And a lot of people experience me as being serene, grounded, wise, all those things. And most of the time, I relate to that. I think, yeah, that is who I am now. But sometimes, and this happens, it only happens when I find myself in groups of women or I don't know of anyone. I don't know about them. I walk into a group of women and they really are strange. And I don't mean strange in a weird way. I mean, they're just strange to me. And there's something that clicks inside of me. It's that little girl who was bullied for 8-9 years at school, consistently bullied, to the point where I never knew when I was at school how to walk into a group of girls and how to be. I didn't know who to be or how to be. I didn't know how to relate to them, how to connect to them, or whether I should just shut the fuck up. And sometimes I would shut the fuck up. Sometimes I would just go in there all guns blazing, because why not? What was the worst that they could do to me when they'd already done the worst anyway in my book? So sometimes, and it really is, it's when I meet a community, a new group of women, walk into a new group of women online or not, and I don't know them, something is triggered that little girl still hasn't quite resolved, dealt with the old uncertainties around being with groups of girls. Now, the impact of that on the people I meet is their first experience of me is grounded, serene, wise, and all the things I just mentioned. But then I react in this slightly odd way that I'm not conscious of. And there's a disconnect. There's an incongruence. It's like, oh, who. So this old wound that I have, believe me, done a lot of work on can still sometimes impact who I am and how I am. Sheila, yeah, you relate to that stuff. It's extraordinary. Long fingers. These old wounds, this stuff from childhood they have such long tentacles. And we think that we dealt with the tentacles. And then we wake up one day and we suddenly realize, oh my God, I'm still doing it. It's still going on. So I wasn't conscious of this. It was something that I was talking to my coach. And there's a group that I'm in, and I'd become aware that I didn't quite connect with the group, but I hadn't thought about it. Why? We talked about this, and it's like, oh, there's still work to be done. There's still some healing to be done. And since I only had that conversation this morning, I haven't had quite time yet to do all the healing. That will follow, and I will report back, I promise. So, old wounds have long fingers. The more that we can recognize the old wounds, a lot of it comes out through journaling on experiences. So you have an experience, you journal on it, and you start thinking about the reason why. What does that relate to? Too many tentacles. Yes. So one way is journaling. Another way is talking to your friends. Another way is having a coach, talking to a coach, which is what I do. But uncovering some of these links, some of these old hurts, and then looking at how you can let go of them, because it is perfectly possible to let go of them. But it's also important to recognize how they're impacting you, because the fact that I'm still carrying the wound of being bullied at school, that's interesting, and it's definitely a case for healing, but it's also the impact that it has on me. Now, again, and I'm staying, I kind of uncovered it this morning, so it's quite warm with me. My clients, my target market, as they say in internet marketing, my clients are women. So I can expect to be invited into groups of women, groups of strange women I don't know. But if I'm walking into those groups with that wound, that has an impact on my business. It has an impact on how I come across in terms of what I write, in terms of how I show up on a video like this. It has an impact in so many areas that I'm not conscious of until now. And now I am becoming conscious. So whatever it is, as I say, for me, it was this bullying thing, but it could be how, if you run imposter syndrome, what fuels your imposter syndrome? And for a lot of us, especially women my age, as a little girl, I so often heard that it's more difficult for girls. As a woman, you're going to have to work harder in a man's world. And there weren't the role models. When I started work, okay, I worked in the oil industry when I first started work, but it was all guys. There were no women at the top. There were no role models. So of course, I had this kind of imposter syndrome thing going on of, wow, what am I doing here? It's supposed to be more difficult for girls. We're not expected to get on. And because I expected it to be more difficult for girls, then, that was my experience, because I created that as my experience. So imposter syndrome, perfectionism. I'm not a perfectionist, so it's not such a problem for me. But so many of us do run a perfectionist thing. And so often it's motivated by something that was said to us when we were at school, something we heard from a teacher or something we heard from a parent. The drive to please the parent, the drive to really, because if I please my parents, they'll love me. It can drive all sorts of things. And in the conversation that my coach and I were having actually last week, not this week's one, we were talking about ambition and how for so many women, and it particularly for women, the other side of ambition is a wound, a something. We've got the imposter syndrome. We want to be better because we've been told that we have to work harder. There's so many old wounds that drive ambition. So, noticing, as I say, journaling, talking to friends, talking to coaches, and really allowing yourself with a lot of compassion to understand what's going on. But what can you actually do to do the release work to solve the problem? Well, you can certainly do what I do. That's one of the reasons that I love Huna. It's not just my spiritual development. It's also that Huna gives me the tools to release all this shit. Simeon says she does the perfection piece. Yeah, if it's not perfect, I'm not going to do it. So for me, Huna gives me tools and techniques to release this stuff. And that's, as I say, that's one of the key reasons why I got into Huna in the first place. And it's why I've stayed with it. Tools and techniques for releasing my old fears and my old anger, old sadness, old hurts. Tools and techniques for releasing beliefs that I have about myself that emerge from those old hurts. Tools and techniques for forgiving other people. I've forgiven the bullies a long time ago. I don't have any issues with the bullies. The issues is with me and my expectations, that piece of fear that I hadn't quite healed yet, but I am going to this week, this afternoon even. So those are the sorts of tools and techniques that Huna offers me. Great techniques for overcoming conflicts or resolving conflicts. Meditation for just really getting in touch with myself and soothing my soul. Working with the elements so that I can really get into the true nature of being for myself and the planet itself. There's tools and techniques like EMDR. EMDR is incredibly powerful. I don't practice it. I know how to do it, but it's not something that I use myself with clients. Incredibly powerful. I have a number of clients who have experienced narcissistic parenting and have gone for EMDR and found it really powerful and useful. And there's a whole raft of other tools, fast phobia tools, NLP tools, timeline therapy tools, many tools out there that can be used. As I say, my preferred tool set is Huna, but there are many more. So really my invitation to you is with love and compassion, allow yourself to start to identify those old traumas with a little t and how they're impacting your life, because they will be impacting your life. And as I said at the beginning, I passionately believe that this whole COVID thing is an opportunity for real change, for us to change the way we look at things, to change the way we do things. And it does shine the giant torch. So if you're finding you're getting particularly stressed in your relationships because you're spending a lot of time cooped up, maybe there's something to look at there. If you're finding that you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe there's something to look at there, because very often overwhelm comes from a desire to be driven by a desire to be perfect, driven by a desire to be, by a desire to be loved, driven by a desire for something. So it's an opportunity to take the big torch and shine it so that you can resolve these things and find a different way of being and hopefully enjoy your own potential. Have a more joyous, joyful, more brilliant, lovely life. So I hope that's been interesting and useful for you. If you have any questions, please do get in touch. You can either put them on the Facebook page. If you're in the Secret Art of Huna Facebook group, you could pop them in there. Or you can just email me or message me or direct message me on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever. So get in touch. I'm here. I want to help. So take care. Lots of love. Oh, and the other one is, yes, you can always book a call in my diary, secretartofhuna.com/diary, and you can book a call and we can talk about it and see if I'm the right person to help you. So lots of love. Aloha. Have a lovely day and I'll keep you posted how I'm getting on. Take care. I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. If you want to bring about rapid transformation in your life, check out secretartofhuna.com, where you can also download a free meditation to help you with self-forgiveness. You can also look out for Secret Art of Huna on social media such as Facebook and LinkedIn. I look forward to talking to you again very soon.